figure it out.
yeah, that basically what we'll do is incorporate and all that and just basically go, yeah, we got some real
Too
work.
many concerns, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And, basically, especially like in my area, I mean, everybody has had concerns, but now we got, it's just like it never ends.
Well, and this is my concern, Shauna, is this is this year's budget. So, um, if those duties are being taken off of community enrichment,
Right,
why is 20% of the assistant director and 20% of the director wage still in there?
right, right.
When
Good job.
this, for Lynette to go from coordinator to manager, is a 24% increase in her wage. I mean, this could have been budget neutral
Right. I get
and
it.
shifting responsibility where it made the most sense.
See, now I wouldn't. So, maybe how we'll handle that. I don't know how we get to it. You know what I mean? I've
Bring
been
it
a,
up if there's an opportunity and if the conversation goes around the community
yeah.
enrichment.
Well, everybody knows that's why. You know, we have been, and like I said, he's experienced too because he's been getting a phone calls from these guys not doing their job. And now,
Who?
Gallagher, he's.
Oh, yeah.
I just tell him to call him. I give it a try, and if it doesn't happen, I just go, hey, you know.
Yeah, and then you look at code enforcement, it's like, okay, so they enforce, what is it? Code enforcement is all around building codes,
Right.
and dilapidated buildings and things like that.
Right. Right.
So,
Um, did I tell you I get one more for that? She said.
for the demolition,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I would like to do, and maybe we need to talk about tonight, is I'd like to add old sign bodies
Yeah.
into this, like sign frames that are basically like ghosts because there's either the new businesses there and they don't use the frame,
Right.
and it's just a big old rusty shitty frame. I'd like to add something into the budget to do that.
You know, we
It's
got to
too.
deal with there.
I don't even care. You can't stop me.
No, but
You know.
it's the other one, the female version.
Mm.
See, I kind of have to go into a store, which is, I can propose an item.
Oh,
See what I'm saying?
I think, yeah, I don't think it would be an issue. I mean, if you drive up and down Harrison Avenue, like on the building where that used to be BG's, I think maybe, or what was down there, where the Ace High Casino is there now.
Yeah, yeah,
Their signs all belong down.
yeah.
They're not going to replace it, but it needs to come. It should come down, and businesses aren't going to spend money on it.
Right,
You give them a ticket, they're not going to pay the ticket either.
right.
Like Copper City Physical Therapy. She's got a pole sign right next to the building that she's
Yeah.
not using. She's got her sign on the side of the building. Remember that big
Yeah, yeah,
uproar? Um,
yeah.
so I don't know, just things like that because you drive up and down and when you're looking for them, they really stick out,
Right.
and they're just an eyesore. Hi, Fish. How you doing?
Hey, Fish,
Yeah, this is what the wages were last year to this year.
good.
Last year to this year, and 20% of both of those numbers is still in the animal services budget.
So basically what they're putting on this right here in the budget isn't the true one because it'd be this with the 4% raise. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And honestly, it's like if we're going to keep this, if we're going to keep it this way, then we're not moving the department.
No. No. And the thing about it is
And her wage is going to stay the same.
right. And so is Woodruff because I think either that or here's another thing is basically the number one bracket, the director of community enrichment. We don't fund that job. We just give it a 6-month trial period with the assistant community enrichment director. to see who's worthy of this job, or if we need to bring somebody in.
Right. Right. Yeah, there's nothing that says we have to have a director appointed.
Right, right.
Let's see if we can use some of those savings in the meantime
Yeah.
to get things. Oh no, it's not right. It's 5:26. The battery's dead. You can see it ticking. I'm gonna take it down. I probably can't reach it. You probably can't reach it either. Are you taller than me or Jim?
I don't know. Here, let me.
Johnny Reardon, he's got a little more height. There should be a battery right in the table there, in the middle there. There should be a battery.
We took that clock down. His battery's dead. We took that clock down. His battery's dead.
That's how I always know when I usually figure out that the battery's dead on my clock in my office about
When you're
2 months later.
late for meetings, yeah. Yeah. Okay, we can look later. I can put it right here.
Okay.
Just get it out of the way. Barb might have one in her office.
You got a
too.
phone, we can say, what is the time? We'll
It's
every hour.
5:27.
Yeah.
So much paperwork. Man, I had a killer headache this morning.
And you're on that new stuff too? That new medication that's on TV?
Yeah, but this wasn't a migraine. This is because they couldn't
Are we gonna be able to watch TV on your face pretty soon with your predecessor?
Maybe. It looked like full moon. Probably not, because it's only 5 days.
Can we change the channel?
It's only
I
5
didn't think-
days.
Yeah.
No, but it's really.
I went through it, yeah.
Look at the side effects, and it's like the longer you're on it, it's like.
Yeah, I've seen those people that have been on, you know, yeah, it's the,
Well, my back goes out about every other year. I gotta take some steroids to get it back.
yeah.
This many people here.
I agree. We still might see O'Neill. Callahan said it was gonna be.
Callahan was gonna go.
I said, he said he had to go to.
Fish thinks there might be. Yay! I got it. We'll try it. The clock's dead. It's like the grandma's purse. It's got a little bit of everything in it.
Okay, what's the correct time?
It's 5:29. You want to try hanging?
Yeah.
Blows my stuff all over. Bam.
I thought you said that at the admiral. Like, what?
My nose is plugged. He does too.
I'd like to call the Butte-Silver Bowl Council of Commissioners special meeting for Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023 to order. Clerk, can we please have a roll?
Seven present, 5 absent.
We have 7 present, 5 absent. Please note that Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner O'Neill, Commissioner Fortune, Commissioner Walker, and Commissioner Callahan are absent from tonight's meeting. Next, we'll move to the prayer and the pledge. Commissioner Sorich.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Fellow Commissioners, Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which will greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver Bow. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds, that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
Next, we'll move on to public comment on any item on the agenda tonight. If you have any comment on the agenda, please come forward, state your name, address, and what item you'll be speaking on. Seeing none, we'll move for a call for a special meeting. J.P. Gallagher, Chief Executive, is calling for a special meeting of the Butte-Silver Bow Council of Commissioners for Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. in the Council's chambers, room 312, to approve the budget for fiscal year 2024 and resolutions related to the special districts. And we do have Commissioner Callahan now present. Okay. What's that? So, Commissioner Frederickson. Do I do the resolution first? Okay. Okay, moving on to Section 1 resolutions and ordinances for suspension of the rules. We have resolution number 2023-33. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution adopting the final budget of the City County of Butte-Silver Bow, State of Montana for the fiscal year 2024. No.
Just a second. So, Commissioner Frederickson, we need to suspend the rules first.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move for the suspension of the rules for the purpose of passing council resolution, let's see here. Resolution number 2023-33, resolution number 2023-34, resolution number 2023-35, resolution number 2023-36, resolution number 2023-37, resolution number 2023-38, resolution number 2023-39 by waiving subsection 7 of Rule 36 of the Rules of Order of Business of the Council of Commissioners, thereby having it be considered for advanced passage without reference to the Judiciary Committee.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
Eight yea, 0 nay.
8 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving to Section 1, resolutions and ordinances for suspension of the rules. Number 1, resolution number 2023-33. Clerk, can you now read the caption? Thank you.
A resolution adopting the final budget of the City County of Butte-Silver Bow, State of Montana for the fiscal year 2024 and setting levies for fiscal year 2024 based on the value of a mill of setting of a mill 1,546 citywide, 80,911 urban services, and 99,638 for suburban services, and declaring that all protests against said budget have been heard and disposed of. Declaring that said budget contains a correct statement of the amount to be approved for each of these funds of the City County of Butte-Silver Bow for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of July 2023 and ending on the 30th day of June 2024, is fixed in said budget passed on the 22nd of August, 2023, and providing for effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-33 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second to place resolution number 2023-33 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. If I could, I would like Budget Director Gleason to give me a little update on the value of the mill versus the urban services and the suburban services.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Director Gleason.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fisher, Commissioners. So the county has three really separate taxing jurisdictions. We have many taxing jurisdictions, but three separate levy districts. So the county-wide one is pretty much all government services with the exception of fire, road, and emergency service district. So the urban district, which is in the middle, that has a significantly less mill value than the county-wide mill value, is related to the fire service district. So that just supports Fund 2388 in the budget. It's the fire mills that are levied up there at 52.15 mills, and that's how you equate to the property tax generated for fire services. Suburban, which is slightly less than the county-wide, is just the road district and the emergency service district, which are different outlying districts. For the most part, just do not contain Walkerville. So we do not assess road or emergency service in those areas. That supports the budget for Fund 2288 and the road department in Fund 2110. Road department's levying 18.01 mills and emergency services at the 9 mills. So it's just how the taxing jurisdictions have been set up for years.
Thank you, Director Gleason. Follow-up, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Thank you, Danette. I appreciate that input. So does that have any, like, different parts of town? So is there any borders like Front Street or Dewey Boulevard or Meadowlark, or if you're going the other direction, if you're going east and west, like Main Street, or how do they kind of get clarified? Thank you.
Commissioner Fisher, Director Gleason.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fisher, to answer your question, the urban services, the fire district, is everything what we would is considered urban, which if you look at the levy card, you'll see districts that are like 2R, 3R, 3. So Ramsey, Rocker, Walkerville, south of the intersection of the 9 Mile and Continental Drive, going up into Roosevelt Drive, coming forward, you're in the urban. Going past that point, you're in rural districts. So they're all different levying districts. And going west, like I said, Ramsey, Rocker, that area, they're outside of the urban. They're in the road. For the most part, the suburban is just does not include pretty much the Walkerville city limit area. And the urban does not include Walkerville. So the north, so fire district is not in Walkerville.
Thank you, Director Gleason. Follow-up, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Thank you, Danette. I appreciate this. Refreshing my memory a little bit because I just don't recall it. So when we go with like Wise River Fire District and Melrose Fire District, like Melrose, for example, 28.62 mills, does that just get paid in Melrose, or and then the Wise River gets paid in Wise River and urban gets paid in urban? So most of the, am I correct in saying most of it is the 100,000, whatever the, what it is up here, yeah. Most of it is the 100,546 for mills. Thank you.
Commissioner Fisher, Director Gleason.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fisher, you're exactly right. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the rest of the resolution you were talking about. So those areas also, south, are not part of the urban district, and so they don't get those fire services. So they have came back to the council at some point in time. I think the most recent one was the one that we did in Divide, and they came forward and asked for additional fire service out there, so they have the separate district in that area. but they're all subject to the cap. So I think what's really important is that these 3 districts that you're talking about on the resource and requirement schedule, and then the other districts like Wise River, Mosquito District, Mile High Soils, even Walkerville, all the other areas have their own cap limitations, so they're subject to the cap of 1510-420, and so we have to calculate to make sure that they all levy taxes underneath that cap before they come to you.
Thank you, Director Gleason. Follow-up, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I'm about done here. I just had a few questions I want to clarify. So, like the search and rescue, I see they're 0.75 because they're capped at like 74,000 or 75,000 for the 1 mil they were allowed, even though the mil is up to $100,000 plus. So, I guess my question is, why is the fire so high at 52.15 mils?
Commissioner Fisher, Director Gleason.
Yep, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fisher. So the search and rescue is capped at it was 1 mil at approximately $75,000. So you're correct. So that 0.75 mils is $75,000. The fire district, the urban fire district, supports the whole budget. If you look at Fund 2388, that supports that whole budget in that fund. So if you look at the resource and requirement schedule and you go down to fire services, our appropriations in our fire budget is $5 million, $5.1 million. The fire budget contains most of the staffing. In the 2388, I think there's, I don't have it right there handy with me, but 10 or 12 employees are in the 2288, but for the most part, significant portion of the staffing is in the regular 2388 budget, and it consists of all the EMTs and whatnot that respond to those other areas. But back in the day when it was established, when the 2288 fund was established, it established a district, and it also established the number of mills. At that time, it was a 10-mill district that has been allowed to float up over time or down, depending upon how our mill value fluctuates. So it supports that whole staffing, which is very different than 75,000 that went to the vote of the public for search and rescue, to support search and rescue. I don't know if I've fully answered your question. I can pull the budget and go to the details. Okay.
Thank you, Director Gleason. Any other questions of commissioners? Seeing none, could commissioners please vote? I think we're missing Commissioner Shea. I don't think yours. Okay. Okay, I won't follow up on the vote. I'll let everybody. Okay. Commissioner Reardon, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. We're just voting on the resolutions pertaining to the areas of the budget designated by the resolution number. Is that correct? We're not voting on the entire budget now?
We're voting on the entire budget.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know how this I guess I misunderstood. I had some questions on the budget and maybe I missed out here. Would that be appropriate, or seen as we're this far into the vote?
So, County Attorney Joyce, we can still ask questions at this point if we haven't recorded the vote.
Mr. Chief Executive, yes, questions under discussion, you can go ahead and ask them before you actually vote.
So I thought. Okay. Commissioner Reardon.
All right, thank you. First of all, I want to apologize. I was under the assumption as I asked the question is that we were going through, I didn't believe that we were voting on the entire budget. First of all, before I get started, I want to thank Danette and her crew and all the great people that work for Butte-Silver for putting this budget together. As discussed, I made Danette aware of, and I don't know if she talked to you about the concern we had with the community enrichment program. And basically, there was a sheet out, and I just feel, I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade here and all that. I applaud you for what you've done. I applaud you for what, but you know, when you really look at this, there's also some financial questions that we have. Basically, especially in District 8, District 9, I believe Bill Anderson's district and all that, the concerns. And basically, as I stated before, is the fact that you had to personally address some of these concerns of the calls that you've been getting, basically involving procedures of this program. And like I said, I believe it is an option on this final budget. Correct me if I'm wrong, the county attorney, but this is where I wanted to go. I'm for what's going on with this entire budget, but I think that this situation that we have with this program and this portion and department of the government needs to be looked at. Basically, what we're doing with the parking commission, what we're doing with the parking garage, what we're doing with these people that are to be placed in these positions in the raises, and I think we really need to look at that. So I don't know, you know, like I said, the quagmire is, as I was reading here and all that, I thought it went step by step, and I should know better because this is actually my third year. But like I said, I'm not here to rain on anybody's parade. I gave Budget Director Danek Leeson that this might be a point of discussion, and like I said, I apologize for my ignorance. But I just thought I'd put it out there, and then basically I understand that a motion can be made. I don't know where we're at with that or where we can have discussion, is that basically we can approve the budget, all the rest of the budget, and take a look at the scenario we have with this department, separate from the budget, and approve later.
Would you like me to answer a question here?
Yes, I would.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner. So as far as personnel goes, what you're approving is the budget for the departments. I think you have questions about the reorganization of this, of the departments, which I shared with you and we talked about through the public hearings. But one of the ones where I was saying that we were going to move animal services manager out of community enrichment, I have that authority just based on our ordinance here that animal service program manager 6.04.230, there's established the position of Butte-Silver Bowl Animal Service Program Manager. The Animal Service Program Manager shall report directly to the Chief Executive of Butte-Silver Bowl. Butte-Silver Bowl may enter into contractual relationships to provide this service. Right. So I have that ability to move that out just by our statute here. The other reorgs, as we talked about throughout the community enrichment, we're looking to save us some money there. And the people that are going in those positions, I don't mean to be, to say you have no authority, but those positions will be put in by the chief executive and move forward in those positions by the administration. The legislative branch does not have the authority to dictate who goes into what positions. Now, you do concur onto the community enrichment director. So we'll go through the hiring process or appointment process of that, and then it will come forward to you for concurrence on that. Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you. I'm not questioning your right as a member of the executive board. I'm questioning is we're the one with the money. And basically, we have the right to find out where this money is going to. And I've struggled with basically allocating, I believe with the raise, it is a 90,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, it might be 94. We just need to know where this money's going and who's going to be here, who's going to be where. And like I said, I have no problems with the budget and all that stuff. I have no problem with appointments. But we're still the one that delegates and approves this budget. And it's not myself personally. It's not anything that's going on. This has been an item of contention basically with Butte-Silver Bowl even before I started as a commissioner. And I think that it was around the table, we talked about this the other night, there hasn't been a commissioner in this room that hasn't had issues with, and what I'd like to do is I think with the taxpayers here and all that stuff, is we got to give them the satisfaction that some things are going to change. I get your executive branch deal, but like I said, we're the ones that have to answer to the people to pay their taxes and basically find out what's going on in the funding. And right now, when I look at this sheet, the spreadsheet that Nick gave us to us and all that stuff, Mr. Randall has retired and all that stuff. We have the schematic. I get that you can appoint who you want, but I guess our dice in the game was whatever is we control the money, whether these people feel like they feel like paying for these positions without more discussion. And like I said, maybe down the road, you know, with your program and all that, we're all looking for improvement. I'm not going to say there's not going to be improvement. I'm not saying that there isn't going to be any savings. But, you know, in reading your email today and all that, it's a question. And basically, I think it's a question that people throughout Butte have is what exactly what's going on. It's hard for me to approve the money and this portion of the budget when we don't have, all we have is Director of Community Enrichment. I think we need to visit more about some other, and I get where you're at, but I think that's where I'm at. Thank you.
I'm not quite sure. I'll go to County Attorney Joyce on this.
Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Reardon. So I think, you know, what you're being asked to do tonight is approve the budget. If you wanted to remove money out of a department, you would have to make a specific motion to take money out of the Community Enrichment Department. That's the kind of motion that you would have to be making tonight. Any kind of determination or further discussion on amending ordinances in regard to what the Community Enrichment Department does or what their duties are, or anything that's in the current ordinance under the Community Enrichment Department would be a different process that you would be utilizing through an ordinance amendment. But what you're being asked to do tonight is approve a budget, and if you think there's too much money in a certain line item or the Community Enrichment Department, you'd have to make a specific motion to remove out of that area.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce. Commissioner Reardon, follow up.
Thank you. I'm not looking to change any ordinances. I'm not looking at all that. I guess what I will do after I make my scenario here again is the fact I have no problem with budget as is. There's no deal here. But the thing about it is, as I stated earlier, and I'm not going to repeat myself anymore and all that, I think that this scenario needs to be looked at and rectified. And at this time, I would like to make a motion. I guess we already had a motion and deal. I don't know what we're going to do legally there.
Do you have it would be a substitute motion.
A substitute motion to approve the budget as is with removing the community enrichment program, not their monies and all that, but basically looking at the or the replacements and all that before I feel good about the money's going to be there. No big deal. The money's going to be there. It's just who exactly this money is going to go to and what improvements we're going to try to make for spending this kind of money in this department to further Butte's progress. Thank you.
Commissioner Reardon, I'm not quite sure what that substitute motion is, but so we'll go to County Attorney Joyce to ask.
First of all, there needs to be a second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, and I'm not quite sure how to summarize that. To approve. So, yeah, Director Gleason.
Yep. Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Reardon, I just kind of want to clarify a couple things. So when I had given you, just so everybody knows on the record, what I had given you per your request was the fiscal year 2023 Community Enrichment Department organizational chart with every individual position, with the name, and with the salary of the current staffing.
Right.
So the proposed budget for fiscal year 24 removes that animal services section out because of the ordinance that Chief Executive Gallagher just had stated to you, and moves that animal services budget away from and has direct report now up to the Chief Executive. We have other work that has to be done on the budget and on the structure for the Community Enrichment Department. So I think even in Chief Executive Gallagher's discussion, he was waiting to see about letters of resignation. At the time when we were establishing this budget back in February, we had verbal commitments of resignation, but not written resignations. So throughout the budget process, I think Chief Executive Gallagher was explaining to the whole council that we would potentially be removing one position. So on that org chart that you have before you for 23, he suggested moving the Assistant Community Enrichment Director position, so that position would go away. It would help offset some or any additional, it would totally fund any of the additional intention in salary changes for the animal service manager or any of the other projected org chart that you were handed out to you for the fiscal year 24 budget. I guess the only thing that's concerning me tonight when we're talking about not passing a budget or passing a budget but removing a department without the budget, we run into statutory requirements that we received our certified values the first Monday in August. So we have till basically we're going to be pushing up till September 15th to adopt the budget. We also have personnel that work in these departments that have jobs and employment, and if you don't pass a budget by those statutory requirement deadlines, I'm really not sure that we continue to employ those people and make payments to them if I have no budget. Right now, the statute allows us, until the budget's adopted, up till the time of statutory requirement of passing a budget, you can continue your operations and then go back to July 1 of 2023. And that's why that states the resolution, the budget resolution that was just read before you states that it goes back to July 1 of 2023. But after that date and required date that we're required to pass a final budget, I'm not sure I can continue to make those payments. We would be dissolving a whole department based on that motion. County Attorney Joyce would have to verify that, but.
Thank you, Director Gleason. I just want to make one sentence. And one of the statements that you made, you said the money will be there. So what we're asking for really is the money in that department to be there to be able to pay the employees. The structural changes are yet to come. As we said, it's an interim director position that we're probably going to start off with in that, but we were looking to take the assistant director out of that. But there's a cost savings through doing this to the county, and I understand you're concerned with how those structural changes are going to be, but right now we're really talking about the budget authority. So I know Commissioner Shea had a question as well here. Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I think what Commissioner Reardon is trying to get at is some and Commissioner Callahan as well, since he seconded, is some assurances of accountability and improvement in the areas of community enrichment. And I don't know what that takes. Maybe it takes more money. I don't know, but that is the biggest item that I get phone calls and emails about, and people stop me at the grocery store. They want to talk about a property in their neighborhood or something, a camper on the street, and I get all of the socioeconomic things that are going on in this community that everybody's kind of tag teaming on. But I think that's what Commissioner Reardon is trying to get to the heart of. I think what he's doing is coming from a place of asking for accountability, if I'm not mistaken. I do have some questions, and I probably don't have the amendment sheet in front of me, which is probably why I have this question right now. So the Community Enrichment Department will have no authority over the animal services anymore, okay? And did I miss an amendment? Because it looks like in the preliminary budget, 20% of the director and the assistant director are still budgeted in the animal services budget. And so do we need to make a motion to remove that out of the animal services budget?
Commissioner Shea, Director Gleason.
So, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Shea, we left some of those positions intact. We left the whole Community Enrichment Department intact the way it is because it's not structurally been changed or amended. So that whole position's been, or everything's been left intact because we're not sure of, when we were establishing the budget, we're not sure of the direction of the department. Is there going to still be an assistant director? Is there going to be a director? We could definitely amend that budget. You could pass it to amend the budget with taking that piece out of it because we now have a written letter of resignation from the director. So we would be able to have enough funding available to fund those positions left in the community enrichment budget. But prior to, we weren't sure of the whole structure, so we had to have those positions funded.
Okay.
Thank you, Director Gleason. Follow-up, Commissioner Shea.
Okay, that makes sense to me now, so thank you for that clarification. And I guess my other question is, I'm glad to see that the assistant position is going away in kind of an effort to make this a little more budget neutral. But I am concerned with the level of responsibility of the director if they're not overseeing that animal services budget or that animal services department. Like, what does that look like as far as classification and grade? And I'm just let me think out loud here for a second. I realize that they will probably be taking on some responsibility from the assistant director position as well. I'm just not sure that evens out in my mind. And we did talk about that at our very first budget meeting, and you and I had talked a little bit about that. So I'd just like to hear a little bit more about that justification. Thank you.
So Commissioner Shea, thank you for the question. And so that will be, as now that we have a resignation letter, they came about that, we will be drafting a new community enrichment director position. We'll establish the pay grade in that along those lines. They will be taking on some of the responsibility of the assistant director, and some of those responsibilities of the assistant director will go down to the coordinators of the weeds coordinator and the community enrichment coordinator. So there'll be some shared services there. And so that's where we will be looking at and establishing those pay grades at that time. But right now, we base this on trying to be able to structure this without really knowing officially where we were at the time, but knowing that we were going to move animal services out.
Okay, follow up.
Okay. Follow up, Commissioner Shea.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
And then Commissioner Mankin.
That makes sense,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
That makes sense. So, I mean, to be fair to, to everybody who's waiting for their retroactive pay and whatnot, if this budget is passed, pending those decisions, at what point does the council have any authority on that decision? When do we hear from maybe the chief executive, the HR director, regarding the classification, the levels of responsibility? I mean, just passing it the way it is says, go forth and execute the legislative will, because that's what the executive branch does, and we're stating that that's our will, even though we've heard that some of those decisions aren't even made yet. Thank you.
Commissioner Shea, I believe that, knowing the budget authority that is there, we will go back, and then once they're put in the positions where we're looking to do that, then it will retro to July 1st based on the salaries that will be established. But until that time that we actually have those formal positions announced in that, and what the pay rate will be on that, they won't get that until we establish that, and then it'll be retro back to the start date of those positions. Actually, which would probably be, for some of them, I'd take it back not to July 1 to the resignation of the current director. And Commissioner Mankins.
Thank you, Chief Executive. So a little bit off of Commissioner Shea after she stated that point of it. Do these positions then stay with future chief executives, or do they, can they or will they? Just so that we know moving forward with how this is developed and these people in these positions, or can they be from the chief executive, the executive branch, be terminated or resolved or just taken out after if someone else has a different way of putting this together?
Commissioner Mankins, part of the where we went to on the, like the animal service director, we went back to the way it was written in ordinance and also passed by the voters that animal services was to be a standalone in 2006. I know that got changed through it. So I can't say that that another chief executive may not make departmental changes, but that's structurally that will come forward through the budget process and things like that they could make structural changes within any department, really, you know, and make those suggestions. Those can happen. I think this is a working document that we can work off of. I think that it takes out some of the, I guess, almost too much in one department's workload when you talk about having to enforcement. And so it puts some of that into separate departments instead of under one director. And so that's why we looked at it so closely. And, you know, hopefully this does move forward and, you know, but I can't say what a future chief executive might ask for in structural changes. I think that we're just guessing on that. Commissioner O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. So there'll be new positions. They'll just be appointed positions then? They won't be like a new position that somebody else could apply for?
So these positions can be moved. I'm sorry, Commissioner O'Neill. The positions that we have organizationally can be just kind of advancements with people that are already where they are at. You know, it will be in. I'll state this, that the interim director, I will be putting Director Moudre into the interim director, the assistant director into the interim director. Currently, and then, you know, as we move forward, we will take a look at making sure that we are outlining the director's job consistent with what the job duties are, minus animal services, and then based on those coordinator positions within the weeds and then community enrichment, that the added duties are added into those job descriptions as well, and then we'll probably appoint from within staff just those advancements like we do in multiple other departments and roads, and, you know, as people move up, they're advanced that way as well, and that's the direction that I'm looking to do this with. Oh, Commissioner Callahan. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Chief Executive Geller. I guess titles and names and stuff is important, but I think what the citizens of Butte are looking for is some change. From what I hear, people don't want to fund a department that they think is broken, and until they see that we're going to get something fixed, they want it changed. They don't want to keep funding a broken department and just have status quo. And I think that's where a lot of the commissioners over here have a hesitation of wanting to pass the budget. Just changing names and titles, does that mean it's going to fix this department? Or, as I've said in the past, we've got problems. We get phone calls daily, and we're just gotten nowhere. We're not getting anywhere with that. And that's why we want, before we pass the budget, we want some assurance things are going to change.
Commissioner Callahan, I don't have full agreement with you on that. I think that that's very directed at personnel that are working within departments and saying that nothing's happening with anything that goes on there. All you have to do is take a look at the news on every single city. The issues that we're talking about, when you're talking about trailers and decay and problems and things like that, they're in every community. And I don't think that's unique to ours. Can we do better? Absolutely. But to make statements that the department's broken and the people within it need to be moved out of there or changed, I don't agree with that. I don't believe that, and I have to support. That would be the same as when people say the potholes don't get fixed and the roads are bad and all those other things. Those things are not accurate and true. We do what we can with the resources we have, and the people that are within those departments, I believe, are doing the best that they can. And those are hard conversations when people are sitting up here saying that that they're not doing their jobs. Can we do better? We all can do better. There's no doubt about it. And I can do better myself, but it's just disheartening for people that work in departments like that to constantly get berated, and I just feel that's a hard position for me to be up here to say, yeah, things need to be changed because it's broken, and it's the blame of the people within those departments. Director Gleason.
Yep, Chief Executive Gallagher. Just need to add a couple clarifying points to Commissioner Shea maybe making a different motion here to remove that position out of the animal services budget. So you would be moving $21,923 out of salaries and benefits. I would propose that the shift just be to general fund reserves. That's a small amount. It's not going to impact the mills that much in the general fund. It won't impact the mills, basically, in the general fund. So if your motion could be to remove that position from the animal services budget and just place the savings in the reserve funds in the amount of $21,923. And then just to add, these are rough calculations, but I do have a lot of the facts here. Based on the discussion that's just had, and then Chief Executive Gallagher's earlier comments about removal of Assistant Community Enrichment Director, and even back to Commissioner Shea's discussion on the positions and what they would look like, and then how tying them into like other positions within the county, we would still be saving after the removing of the Assistant Community Enrichment Director position, which in total is roughly $109,000 with benefits. We would still save about $79,872 by removing that position and making the changes that I think Chief Executive Gallagher has told you would be made in the budget process.
Thank you, Director Gleason, for that clarification. Commissioner O'Neill.
Thank you, Chief Executive. And this is all in discussion, but I mean, I'm glad we're, proposing to save money, and maybe it helps save money, but I hope that just trying to save money doesn't hurt the process, right? I mean, I don't want to sit up here and say I don't care about not saving money. I don't want to say that out loud either, but I just hope we're getting our bang for our buck. If we're taking away, maybe I don't know, maybe we need to add, or I don't know. Again, I don't know where I'm going with that. That's just a part of my thoughts in my head at this point, but thank you.
Commissioner O'Neill, I appreciate that conversation. I think that we have thoughts of that too. Are we going to have enough staff and support and be able to continue the services that were there? As this year is a tough budget year and we were looking for cost savings along the way, and with being able to reorganization, we felt we could absorb those positions, but there could be potential that we're looking at coming back within a community enrichment or whatever as another position. I don't think we need to have more administrative side, but maybe more boots on the ground. But I think that we need to let the process work a little bit here to see where we're at. But that's my, direction that I would like to go this year. But, to your point, I think I would like to see how this functions as we move forward. And County Attorney Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I just wanted to reiterate one of the points made by Director Gleason, in that if I understand Commissioner Reardon's motion, he would like to pass the budget without funding the Community Enrichment Department. And I just want the council to be aware of, the legal implications that could come with that in regard to whether there would be layoffs of an entire department, because you do have employees that work there. And if you are passing the motion, as I understand it, to pass the budget without funding the Community Enrichment Department, you would not then be funding those positions. And as Director Gleason indicated, she would not have budget authority to pay those salaries, and then you could be subject to some lawsuits for unlawful termination.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce. I think Commissioner Reardon followed.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. It's not my intention when I started this scenario visiting with the commissioners and all that to put anybody out of work, to not pass the budget. I think that you guys have heard basically the concerns of the people. We have a savings program and all that. I in no means intended to put the community enrichment people on the streets and not feed their families and all that. I just think that it's very important that while we're working together here, is that basically seeing the new birth of this department is that basically people have said that it hasn't been effective. Not throwing no stones at nobody, not making any critical comments. The deal is here is I support this budget 100%. And I really like discussions like this because this is when we get something done. I'm here to work, you know, with anybody, but a commissioner is a tough spot in some of the districts in Butte, and I'm not going back there again. But the thing about it is I think that what everybody would like to see, it isn't about the dole, it isn't about the personnel, it's just about what are we going to put together for these people where they get some satisfaction. I'm not here to, people can't feed their families. I mean, I'm sorry that that was the insinuation that I made. I think that it's been a great discussion and all that. I don't think it's worth not funding the budget. I just think that in a motion that we should make is that there is a discussion down the road, because I believe that the pretense of a 6-month evaluation is still active in the Butte-Silver government. And maybe in motioning this and passing this budget, we can make a motion that after you have hired and put people where they're at, and after they had a chance to do what they have to do, I'm not being critical of you either, it is the fact that then we can take a look at that process and all that. But there's no doubt in my mind, and there again, is that we have to do something different in this department. And I appreciate what you've done, but I'm willing to, I mean, I don't know what this motion would involve. Do we go with the 6-month probation and maybe visit about after you've made your choices and place people and see how it goes? Positive, we have a money savings and everything like that. That's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reardon. I just wanted to state, whenever somebody accepts a new position, there is a probationary period of evaluation on that for them as well. So, County Attorney Joyce.
So I guess because there is a motion on the floor, I would like you to maybe restate your motion, because the way I understood it, your motion was to pass the budget without funding the community enrichment. So if that isn't your motion, then I guess I would need you to restate it so that the commissioners know what they're voting on and what it is exactly that you're being asked to take out of the budget, because the original motion is to pass the budget. And if you are not talking about taking any money out of the budget, then I'm not sure what your substitute motion is.
I have a question before I make this motion. Is basically, I know that a probationary period isn't mentioned in the budget whatsoever and all that. I get that, but I think that the people around this table would feel a lot better. I know I would, and I think that Chief Executive Gallagher, he stated a couple times where we would be at, where we would be going in that by then. And I just think, here's what I'm going to throw out there. Go ahead. Do you have anything? No?
No,
Okay.
Michelle, yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Is, well, I would like to make a motion that basically we accept the budget, its in entirety, with the opportunity to visit with the chief executive and the members of the community enrichment program at a commissioner's meeting to clarify where we're at with this probationary period and where we're at with this program. Is that permissible?
Commissioner Reardon, County Attorney Joyce.
Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Reardon, so you already made a substitute motion, so you would have to
Rescind.
request to amend your substitute motion and get a approval from the second to change what you originally made as your substitute motion procedurally. But I do want to point out that passing the budget is really related to the money that you're putting in for running the government of Butte-Silver Bow, and decisions on how that money is spent, you know, on what positions people are put into, or it's just not related to what is before you in this resolution. Either you want to pass the budget as presented to you, or you want to make specific amendments to items that have been budgeted for. So your motion has to be related to the resolution that's before you, and if you want to make amendments to what has been presented as the final budget, you're going to have to specifically state what you want to amend in the proposed final budget.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce. Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I have a procedural question for the county attorney. Forgive me, because we very rarely get this deep into this many motions. Are we in a point where a motion to end all motions would be helpful? So we could start over with a motion regarding the budget?
Commissioner Shea, County Attorney Joyce.
Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Shea, yes, I believe so.
I would like to make a motion to end all motions.
We have a motion to end all motions, and it has been seconded.
So, Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Shea, you have to actually have some content to the motion.
Oh, I
what
thought that
that
was
is.
the content. See, that's why I have you. Okay, so here's my motion. I would make a motion to end all motions to approve the budget as presented with the amendment of the wage for the Assistant Director for Community Enrichment be put into reserves, where it can be used in the future if it needs to be, but that has to be with the approval of this body, correct?
Commissioner Shea. Yeah. Commissioner Shea, Director Gleason.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Shea, yes. If it was placed in reserves, then we would have to go through the unanticipated revenue resolution process to reappropriate those funds. And then it'd have to come before you.
Thank you, Director Gleason. So we have a motion to end all motions with taking the reserve. Okay, hold on. So that I just wanted to, okay. And so we have a motion and a second to that. And now,
Thank you, Chief Executive.
Commissioner Callahan.
I would like to ask, I thought if you have a motion to end all motion, the whole thing dies. After you made your third motion, the whole thing dies.
Commissioner Callahan, and that would be the County Attorney Joyce.
Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Callahan, so if there's a motion to end all motions, you vote on that first. If it doesn't pass, you'd go back to the substitute motion. If that didn't pass, you'd go back to the original motion. So the motion to end all motions means that that's the last motion that can be made, and you have to vote on that first before you can consider the ones that were made previously.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce. Okay, so the motion to end all motions is to approve the budget with the money that is taken out the assistant director, and that money be put into reserves that is left over into that. Am I correct? Okay. Is there anything else on the question? Oh, County Attorney Joyce.
So would the motion be to approve the resolution?
Yes.
Approve the resolution.
With that budget amendment being made?
Yeah. So the motion would be, thank you.
I'll amend
Yeah.
amend it to include the resolution,
Yeah.
2023-33
So the
as
motion.
amended.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend, motion to end all motions and to pass resolution number 2023-33 with the extra money put into reserves. All right, okay, all right. Could commissioners please vote?
Oh, wait, we gotta clear that board.
Oh, yeah, got to clear the board. Sorry about that. Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you. Okay,
We could voice
we
it.
gotta wait for it to clear, I think. Okay, so you can, that one didn't count. Okay, could commissioners please vote?
Pass as amended.
And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 2 nay.
8 yea, 2 nay, motion passes. Okay. Moving on to resolution number 2023-34. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the rate and services charges for the fiscal year 2024 against the property from which solid waste is to be collected and removed from each individual dwelling collection unit for the purpose of defraying the costs and expenses of collecting and removing solid waste, levying and establishing a landfill facility access-free for the fiscal year 2024 against the property from which solid waste is to be disposed of, which each individual disposal unit for the purpose of defraying the cost and expense of maintaining and operating said solid waste disposal facility and establishing a fee schedule and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive Gallagher. I move to place resolution number 2023-34 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-34 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive. I guess I have a question for Director Gleason.
Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Thank you, Danette, once again. You're shining. Lights are on you. Simple question. I know that we pay the $106 fee every year for garbage removal and stuff. What is the $25? Is that for commercial business or something, or what is that?
Commissioner Fisher, Director Gleason.
Yep, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fisher, that's the landfill access fee. So even those that are outside of the garbage district or anybody that has an improvement, a parcel with an improvement on it, pays that fee. So, for example, I live outside of the garbage district. I have separate garbage collection with McGree, so I pay separate to McGree, but I also pay that landfill access fee. It's just the gate, it's a access fee to dispose of waste, because I wouldn't have to have McGree come dispose my waste all the time.
Right.
And there's a lot of residents outside of the district that choose not to, and they go dispose their own. So everybody pays that entry fee into the landfill. That has not been raised. It's actually was lowered in about 2013, but it has not been raised in many, many, many years.
Thank
It
you.
actually helps offset a lot of, a lot of the costs associated with our post-closure liabilities. So we have chosen as a local government to not have to incur insurance every year for post-closure costs. And so we use a lot of those fees to help us offset any insurance so that we can show that we can meet our long-term liabilities for post-closure costs. And it is how we actually really fund the landfill. And along with the other fees that are assessed, you just heard last week, Director Neri talked to you in regards to like tires and those things. Those also fund the landfill, but the 106 is just a pass-through for the local government. The real funding source of the landfill is that access fee of the $25.37 per unit.
Thank you, Director Gleason. Follow-up, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Danette, thank you for the input. So just point of clarification for my clients out there. That $25 doesn't add anything to their garbage fee.
Commissioner Fisher, Director Gleason.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Fisher, so they pay that everybody pays that per unit on their, on their tax bill. That's how we pay to have a landfill.
Thank you, Director Gleason. Is there anything else on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-35. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing and establishing metro sewer rates and services charges for the operation, maintenance, and capital improvements of the metro sewer sanitary and storm sewer system for the operation, maintenance, and capital improvement of the metro sewer treatment plant by the city, county of Butte-Silver Bow, Montana for fiscal year 2024 and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-35 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-35 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-36. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution setting levies for the city, county of Butte-Silver Bow and various special districts for fiscal year 2024 based on the value of amount 100,546 city, county-wide, and 80,911 urban services, and 99,638 for suburban services, and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-36 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-36 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-37. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the tax levy for the Wise River Fire District, State of Montana, at a rate which will rise the amount set out in the final budget as the amount necessary to be raised by tax levy for fiscal year 2024 and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-37 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-37 on final reading. Is there anything? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-38. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing and establishing metro sewer water utility rates and services charges for the operation, maintenance, and capital improvement of the metro storm sewer system by the city, county of Butte-Silver Bow, Montana, for fiscal year 2024 and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-38 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 38 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-39. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing a 1 mil tax levy for search and rescue operations for fiscal year 2024 and providing for an effective date herein. Be it resolved by the Council of Commissioners of the City and County of Butte-Silver, both State of Montana.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-39 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-39 on final reading. Is there? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Next, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Public comment on
Oh, do we have public comment at the end of this? I didn't see we had it. I'll take any public comment on any item that is not on the agenda tonight. Please come forward, state your name and address and what you would like to speak to us about. Seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, signal by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This